Well, all right! And welcome back to As It Should Be. Paul Bertolino here in the world famous As It Should Be studios with Crystal Durant.
Hello.
With Tommy Von Voigt.
Hello.
And this is the beginning of our brand new series, Woo! Albums of the Year.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah.
See, you guys going through this whole Singles of the Year series thinking, oh, damn, and then it's going to end, and then no. There's so many different, it never ends. It's music. Music is never ending. And, now we're going to talk about our favorite albums year by year, but in this episode, actually, we're going to do a whole decade. We're going to do all of the 50s. As I mentioned in our wrap-up episode for the singles, the 50s, great decade, great music that year, or that decade, but it really wasn't an albums decade.
No, it wasn't.
Albums wasn't really like the focus. It was really about singles. You had 10-inch records and things, but like full 12-inch albums were they were boutiquey. They were like a newfangled thing that really weren't.
When the decade started, wasn't it really more like they'd be collections of 78s and stuff like that?
Yeah. That's why they were albums, because they were books.
Yeah.
That's why they were referred to as albums, and they literally were like photo albums that had pockets in them, and it would be 78s.
Yep.
That broke if you look at them too hard. But so we decided to do a whole decade in one episode, and then we'll do individual years, begin with 1960. And as we always do when we reset, we start with Crystal.
Ladies first. Yes, it's me. There's a lot of classical music recorded during this decade.
Tons of it. Yeah,
tons of classical.
Just go to any record store. It's everywhere.
I could have done a list of just classical music that I love. So I've got some runners up here. I've got Dinah Washington, What a Difference a Day Makes. Love that album. Bo Diddley.
Oh yeah.
Patsy Cline. The world's greatest gospel singer, Mahalia Jackson. And voice of, I forget how you pronounce this, Ixtabay.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, but I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yma Sumac. You know Yma Sumac?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yma Sumac?
I said who.
She's fucking awesome. All right, so that's my runners up. Here's my list. That's my top 10 albums of 1950.
All right.
Coming in at number 10, coming in hot, literally hot, is Please, Please, Please by James Brown and the Famous Flames.
I was going to be shocked if that wasn't on some lists here.
Yeah, so fucking great, that record. Oh my god, it's so good. Number 9, Volume 1 by the Ink Spots.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not big on the Ink Spots, but I have our friend Nate. Shout out to Nate.
Hey, Nate.
Nate really likes it. He always liked the Ink Spots.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Ink Spots. Not as much as others, but there's something about their voices, the harmonies, it's sick, man. It's sick. As the kids say, it's sickening. My number 8 is Nat King Cole at the piano.
Oh.
Nat King Cole. And I forgot to say, I really do have these records. Like I didn't just
my list. I think one, maybe two of them I don't have physical copies of, but I actually have all mine too.
Do have these
pretty much.
My number 7 is The Wildest by Louis Prima and Keely Smith. It's so good. Louis Prima, fucking A, man. David Lee Roth based his whole persona on him.
Yeah, he did.
If you don't know who Louis Prima is, look him up. You're late. So good.
Well, what if they don't even know who David Lee Roth is?
Oh, shit.
Then we have a problem.
Then we got a big problem. All right, whatever. My number 6 is The New Sound by Les Paul.
Ooh.
Oh.
And the reason why I picked this record up, I mean, I knew who Les Paul was and what he did, but the album cover is, you know how they used to do illustrations and then slap a photograph on top of it back then?
Yes, randomly.
So it's this weird graphic of like an illustration of a body playing a guitar and then like 8 guitars around it and then his head slapped on top of it. It looks like a monster. It's weird. And then it's like, peachy colored and black, like horrible colors they used back then. Then I've got at number 5, Dexter Gordon by Dexter Gordon.
Dexter Gordon had a self-titled?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that album.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dexter Gordon.
Nice. Do you have the years for these?
I didn't write them down.
Come on.
I'm sorry.
No big deal.
I forgot, yeah. My number 4 is Ella Sings Gershwin by Ella Fitzgerald. I love that record. It's so good.
Ella.
2 good things together. That's peanut butter and chocolate together. Literally. So great. My number three is Sarah Vaughan by Sarah Vaughan.
50s were a hotbed of self-titled.
That's all that.
Oh, yeah.
There were so many of them.
There really are a lot of debuts
What,
around that time.
yeah, that's what they did.
There's certain years when you go through and you're like, damn, look at the debuts of this year.
know.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
My number two is Billie Holiday sings Billie Holiday
And who better for Billie Holiday to sing?
to sing Billie Holiday. Come on.
I don't know, but have you heard Pat Boone sings Billie Holiday? That record, though.
Almost
my
as good as
nightmares,
his
I
metal
have.
shit. Yeah. Oh my God, that's like the soundtrack to American Horror Story. All right, and my number one. This was difficult to do. But I'm doing it. This is my number one.
Do it!
I'm doing it, yeah! It's Charlie Parker with Strings by Charlie Parker.
Interesting. So that's your number one overall.
That's my number one over all that. Over the women, over Louis Prima. Yeah, there's something about that record. It's so soothing, I guess you could say. Like, Charlie Parker by himself is very interesting and soothing to me, but with strings,
Yeah, that's an unusual. Like, yeah,
it's really weird to do.
yeah.
And that's why I picked it up at the thrift store for 50 cents, because I was like, Charlie Parker and strings, this is crazy.
Yes, back when we could get cool records
When
like
you
that
could
at
do
the
that.
thrift stores.
Yeah, back in because I got that back in the 80s. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's my list. My top 10 albums.
well,
of the
well.
50s.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Right.
All right. Shall we go to
Let's go to a commercial. I think we probably have.
a 50s
From the
commercial?
50s.
We have a few things to sell you. Maybe something something's on sale at the malt shop or whatever. We'll see.
I don't even know who's sponsoring us. I can't wait to find out.
At the Woolworth
At the lunch counter.
lunch counter in Woolworth.
Luncheonette.
Yeah. All right.
How about a good night cigarette, Ricky?
Thank you, Lucy. Nothing but the best, huh?
Natch, nothing but Philip Morris.
Sure tastes good. And you know something, Lucy? When you find a good friend, well, you kind of like to pass it along to your friends.
That means you. Have you tried a Philip Morris lately?
You'll love them. They're so smooth and mild, and they taste so good.
And most important, there's no cigarette hangover when you smoke Philip Morris.
That's right. That's what we say. You'll be glad tomorrow.
You smoke Philip Morris today.
Good night.
Call for Philip Morris!
Breakfast! I'm hungry! Take it from Carinkles. That's me. The best breakfast under the big top is Post Sugar Rice Carinkles. So crinkly, so delicious, so different. Each grain of rice in Sugar Rice Carinkles is carinkled with honey and sugar. It's so good, I crinkle every time I eat it. Yep, no matter what other rice cereal you've ever tried, you'll love Post Sugar Rice Carinkles best of all. Honey and sugar make it different and wonderful. A circus of fun to eat. So you crinkle on down to the store for Post Sugar Rice Carinkles, the greatest cereal treat on earth.
All right. Well, that was the ginchiest.
It was keen.
Yeah, I'll
keen.
say. And how? Yeah.
The Ginchiest.
Do I have a list? I'll say I do.
Boy,
And
howdy.
it's kicks. It's kicks, brother. It's cool. All right.
Boy, howdy.
All right. Well, I have my honorable mentions here. My mere honorable mentions. I have 5 honorable mentions. The Woods with Mr. Blue from 1959. I actually only just discovered them recently. I mean, I knew of their existence because I knew about the song Mr. Blue and I knew their hits. But kind of recently, I saw it was that's what it was. I was poking around on YouTube, and there was a mid-'70s, probably 73 or 74, Midnight Special performance of them doing that song.
Really?
You know, and it's Midnight Special, so it's the three of them totally live, but it's the 70s, so like they have, you know, big collars and bell bottoms and
updated.
sideburns. Well, the guy did, and the girls, you know, their feathered hair and everything. Sorry. Hair in my mouth. And they sounded absolutely incredible.
Wow.
They said, like, his voice, like he had that guardian star, like he had like he sounded like the record, and it was live.
Shit.
And it made me go down a rabbit hole, and I started poking through their albums and listening, and I'm going, they have so many great songs. Like, he has a really, really cool voice, and like, yeah. And so, yeah, this record
Go get
made an honorable mention. Okay, 1958, the first solo album by Buddy Holly. Yeah. And a mere honorable mention, Please, Please, Please by James Brown and Famous Blues. Now, I have that only in honorable mentions because when the thing about James Brown is like he got onto his thing really quickly, but I feel like this album, when I listen to it, there's some really great tracks on it, but then there's a lot of tracks on it where he sounds like a not as good Little Richard.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he's not quite 100% James Brown yet. So I put it in honorable mentions.
He feels trepidatious sometimes.
Yeah, he's still really young, and he hasn't fully crystallized, as it were.
Ding ding.
All right, and my top two honorable mentions: Little Richard with the Fabulous Little Richard from 1959, and Little Richard from 1958. Okay, now onto my list. My number 10. From 1958, you're going to be shocked. Pretty much my entire list, except for one, are from like the last 2 or 3 years of the 50s. But my number 10 is The Fabulous Johnny Cash from 1958. You know, that great cover of him sitting there with his guitar that says Johnny Cash in the
Yep, the inlay.
fret.
Yeah.
My number 9. Now, this is an album that I discovered at the thrift store. And I looked at the cover, and it was the 90s sometimes when I found this. But it looked interesting, so I picked it up. And that is The Beat of My Heart by Tony Bennett.
Oh.
From 1957. And the cover is him with a group of guys, and they're playing bongos.
Yeah.
You know? And this album kind of has that sort of beatnik bongo playing kind of vibe about it. It's almost like Tony Bennett Unplugged.
Yeah.
It's a really cool record. And of course, again, it was the 90s. That was when one ventured into Tony Bennett, of course.
Naturally.
Number 8, They're Off and Rollin'. The debut of the Everly Brothers from 1958. Man, what a fucking banger of a record that is. Like, it's just like just single after single on it. And of course, it's the Everly Brothers, so even if it's not a single, it's a great track. Now, I don't know if They're Off and Rollin' is actually legitimately part of the title. I think it's kind of like maybe the Rolling Stones with England's Newest Hitmakers. It isn't really part of the title. It's like a subtitle in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think. So maybe it's just a self-title. But anyway, my number 7, one of the two most obvious jazz records I could possibly list, but I genuinely like this. This is my favorite one of the 50s. Blue Train by John Coltrane from 1958.
Good.
I wrote January. I have January 1958. Getting thorough here. Okay, so number 6 is an album that this is one of the ones that I don't own. I don't think I have it, and I'm so stupid. I ran into it in the dollar bin recently, but it was kind of trashed, and I should have bought it at least to put back here. But now, after digging into it a bit deeper, I want a real one, and that is Ritchie Valens with Ritchie Valens from March 1959. Weeks after he died. Like, he didn't even have an album out yet when he died.
Damn.
He was 17, had a couple of singles, maybe 2 or 3 singles out, died in this plane crash, and then the classic Ritchie Valens album that we've all seen it, him standing there with his guitar, that came out the month after he died.
Wow.
Yeah, and also just like the Everly Brothers, you go through it, it's like, man, there's so many great, like he he had a great voice, and like he just like I think he was one of those people who really would have had some pretty cool albums later had he, because he only just started.
Yeah.
That's just him like barely
Doing
scratching the
anything.
surface.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree.
All right. So number 5. This is an album that I have only on CD, and that's because this is one of those albums, like you were mentioning, that existed only as an album.
Right.
It came as a bunch of 10 inches, as a bunch of 78s inside a booklet. And this is Sing and Dance with Frank Sinatra from October 1950.
Oh.
Yeah.
I really, I like Frank Sinatra, but my favorite Frank is actually the really early stuff, like the 40s stuff, and like the
teeny bopper.
I like the teen Bobby Soxers period and this 50s stuff. I'm not as much into the 60s and 70s stuff. I like it, I just don't like it as much as the stuff. And this, by the way, this album, his October 50 album, was like just as he was about to fall off, because he had his teen idol period, and then he just completely dropped off. Like he could walk down the street and nobody would even give him a second glance, like is how badly he fell off. And that was like right after this record. Like this is the tail end of him being relevant for quite a few years, really. So number 4, Nat King Cole with the soundtrack to a movie called St. Louis Blues. St. Louis
yeah,
Blues.
I love that St. Louis
Yes,
Blues,
where
yeah.
he plays W.C. Handy.
Yep.
That is my, as whole albums go, that is easily my favorite Nat King Cole album. This is from 1958. Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
Good movie too.
Yeah. And number 3, Sammy Davis Jr. with his debut, January 1955, starring Sammy Davis Jr.
Surprise!
Hey there, you with the stars in your eyes, and we nursed it, rehearsed it. You know.
Sammy.
Baby, look down that lonesome road. Yeah,
That's so good.
that's right, fucking Sammy. All right, so number 2. The Chirping Crickets by the Crickets from 1957. Oh, jeez, man, there's just banger after banger on that record. Now, I talk about it not being the album's period, the 50s, but there are certain people who are putting out records that are pointing to where things are about to go. Because
yes.
these are not records that have a single or two and then a bunch of filler. Like, these are albums. An album like Chirping Crickets, you know.
That's good.
But number 1.
There's one that stands above them all, and I know what it's going to be.
I mean, come on. Like, come on, people, really?
Duh.
You fucking kidding me?
This fucking record right
Kidding me?
here. You want to talk about pointing at the way things are going to go?
Right?
This record.
The future.
Here's Little Richard. I mean, there was talk about knowing the minute I made the list which one was going to number 1. I mean, come on, I didn't have to think about that. All right, so there you go, my top 10 albums of the 50s.
I can't snap.
You can't snap?
I can whistle. I can't snap.
Are you serious?
Seriously.
I'm pretty terrible at snapping
Yeah, I'm
too.
horrible at snapping. I cannot do it. Yeah. It freaks me out to even try. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't like the way it feels.
I don't know.
The more
All right,
you know. Bring.
let's get snappy with some commercials here.
Open a Budweiser and pour yourself the most inviting glass of beer you've ever tasted. Cold golden Budweiser with that good taste for good times. So go ahead. Live life every golden minute of it. Enjoy Budweiser. Every golden drop of it.
Budweiser beer is for folks who know where there's life. Where there's life.
Go ahead.
Where there's life, there's Bud.
Pity the poor mailman. Walk, walk, walk. No wonder he's so tired. Good thing this is his last letter. Hey! Uh-oh, what a spot. He's got an aching head, an upset stomach, and an empty lot.
What you need is some Alka-Seltzer. You know what they always say.
Yeah, the mail must go through.
Oh, no. I mean about Alka-Seltzer. Relief is just a swallow away.
Well,
Down, 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 the stomach through. Round, 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 the system too. With Alka-Seltzer, they always say, relief is just a swallow away.
bless that relief-giving Alka-Seltzer.
That's what everybody says. With Alka-Seltzer, relief is just a swallow away. Try it.
All right, there you go. Now it is time for Tommy.
Tommy time.
To
Hey,
bring
it's
the
Tommy
50s.
time. Okay, so I had been telling Paul earlier that I did struggle a little bit with these lists for the 50s, or this list for the 50s, and it's because what you alluded to earlier, that this was not... I know Crystal didn't have any trouble with this being an album era, but I did have trouble with this being an album era because I think a lot of albums, not all of them, but a lot of them seem like they were afterthoughts. And like the thing I was joking about, why wouldn't I love an album that's one big freaking hit and then 9 contractually obligated covers of standards that no one wants to listen to?
Which mostly is the
and
case.
a lot of that is the case. So, and there are even a couple of albums on my list of 10 where there is clearly some filler on there, but that's just, for me anyway, that's the nature of the beast in this decade. I struggle with it. I know that you didn't. I know you've got a solid list with runners-up. I had a little bit of difficulty, but I do feel really good about the ones that I do have. I don't have any honorable mentions, but starting at number 10 from 1959, Connie Francis sings Italian Favorites.
I love that.
Oh, shit, I used to have that. I don't
Oh,
have it anymore.
Connie.
That record.
Oh, my God.
That
Man.
is good.
Yeah. My number 9 from 1959 as well, Dion and the Belmonts, presenting Dion and the Belmonts.
Oh, shit, I overlooked that
Yeah,
one.
there was a thing with titles in the 50s. They just,
They hadn't quite
they
got that
hadn't
game
really
down
know.
yet.
No, they didn't.
Well, it's because at that point, the labels were doing it. Like, the artists weren't coming up.
Oh, no, they weren't coming up with
Yeah.
shit. They're just putting these things together,
Yeah.
which is another thing that led to the 50s for me not being a very strong album era because the artists didn't really have a whole lot of say in it.
Yeah, they didn't compile these
No.
albums. Like Buddy Holly, that Tripping Crickets, Buddy Holly didn't sit there and, like, sweat over that list. Like, the label put
I got to make sure I have the track sequence right now.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
My number 8. Now, I could be mistaken here, but when I was looking through this, I had this actually coming up as their second album, not their debut, but I might be wrong. But for 1958, I have the Everly Brothers with their Off and Rolling.
Well, now,
A fantastic album, by the way.
it is their first, but see, what it is I think what happens is on some of these lists, and like if you look on Discogs and stuff, what happens is that they have 2 albums that year, and oftentimes they'll erroneously list the other album from that year up
that
above
could
it.
be.
Like,
That
I
could be.
routinely see that on Discogs. You can almost, without fail, if you go to Discogs and you see like the first 2 albums from the same year, almost every time the second one is actually the first one.
Okay.
They always get it wrong.
Well, there are 2 Everly Brothers albums from that exact period in time, and this is the one.
Yeah.
This is the album. But my number 7 from 1959, Chuck Berry with Berry is on Top.
Oh.
That album cover is so stupid.
I know, it's so dumb with the little...
Ice cream.
Yeah, and the berries,
So,
yeah.
Berries on top.
Corny.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh!
Hey-oh.
But my number 6 from 1957, the Crickets with the Chirping Crickets.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, goddamn,
Yeah.
dude. Fuck.
No explanation necessary.
None. My number 5 from 1959, Richie Valens with Richie Valens.
Yeah.
I mean, everything Paul said about that record. Now, shortly after, there was a follow-up album that was released, which was
Yes.
actually all just completely just studio outtakes, incomplete songs. You can actually miss that one. I doubt very much he would have put that album out had he lived.
Yeah, no, I
It was
completely... yeah.
very incomplete material. But my number 4... from 1958, the Buddy Holly solo album, self-titled Buddy Holly.
Oh.
I struggled with this. I was like, do I want to rank that above or below the Chirping Crickets? But this one edges out the Crickets one for me, just a
interesting.
little bit. It does.
I personally put Tripping Crickets, well, I put it up way up higher.
I know.
But I felt like there was more substantial material on the Crickets, but I don't know.
I don't know. But there's
Put me personally there.
There's stuff on that Buddy Holly record that is just so gorgeous. But anyway, I could have gone either way.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
My number 3 from 1956, actually the oldest album on my list. The Teenagers featuring Frankie Lyman. Self-titled. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that is a motherfucking great record right there.
Yeah.
My number 2 from 1958, Little Richard. Yeah, the second Little Richard album, an excellent fucking album that pales in comparison to my number 1. Are you fucking kidding me? What is my number 1 from the decade?
What could it be?
What could it be?
This record right here.
That
Here's
one, huh?
Little Richard.
Wow, that one?
Shocking.
If you're not hip to this fucking record,
You
ain't hip.
You ain't hip.
back when we did the singles of the 50s, and we were talking about this record.
Right.
Well, we weren't talking about this record. We were talking about records and songs that came off this record. And Paul was talking. Well, Paul held it up, and Paul's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? This blah 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 blah." I mean, he was going full Bertolino on it, and he was like, "This was basically fucking Motorhead in the 50s."
Yes.
And it. I mean, you're so on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That record it's fucking incredible. And
Yeah.
it came out in 57?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this record. Absolutely pointing the way of the way things are going to go. People always talking about, when they think about 50s rock and roll and they're talking about Elvis, you need to fucking miss me with that shit. Little fucking Richard.
Yeah.
This motherfucker.
The truth.
If you don't know about Little Richard,
Where have you been?
that's all I'm saying. That's my number 1. That record right there. By a landslide.
Yeah. It's no contest.
Yeah.
That's great.
And that's
All right.
me.
All right.
All right.
Well, we'll be right back after these messages.
I'm Klondike, T-Dyke, and the bar for men both brave and bold. It warms my heart to serve them all the ale with brewer's gold. Enjoy that golden flavor, true ale flavor. Oh, that Valentine. Ale with brewer's gold. Brewmasters know this brewer's gold, the best cup from the vine. They brew it into Valentine for flavor genuine. It's got that golden flavor, true ale flavor. Oh, that Valentine. Ale with brewer's gold. Remember, friend, ale is the trend. Enjoy the genuine. For ale that's really light and gold, just make the 3-ring sign. Enjoy that golden flavor, true ale flavor. Oh, that Valentine. It's the genuine. Ale with brewer's gold.
Come on, Dad, it can't take this long. Any sign of him? No, not yet. Well, what a time to run out of Aunt Jemima. Gloomy Sunday, huh? It will be if he doesn't get the buckwheats.
Take it easy, boys. He'll be right back.
I wish he'd hurry up. I'm getting hungry.
Well, it happened. We ran out of Aunt Jemima pancake mix. And Sunday just isn't Sunday around here without Aunt Jemima's.
Here he comes. He's here, David.
Well, I made it. Hiya, boys.
Hi, Pop.
Harry, guess who I bumped into downtown?
Did you get the mix, Pop?
Oh, the Aunt Jemima. Here you are, Dave.
Oh, thanks. Stay where you are, Mom. I'll fix them.
Harriet, guess who I bumped in?
How about my buckwheats, Pop?
Oh, here you are, son.
Thanks.
Well, that should be plenty, boys.
Well, I'm not so sure about that, Harriet. Thorny's coming over, you know.
Thorny?
Well, yeah, I tried to tell you. I met him down at the market. I beat him to the last package.
Never a dull moment, folks. Not with Aunt Jemima's. We Nelsons love them, of course, and suggest you try them, too. Aunt Jemima pancakes.
My, they're good.
Well, all right. So we are loath to do it, but it looks like we're going to have to start hating some 50s records. Well, you know, the 50s are kind of like that, kind of like hating on your grandma. You know what I mean? You kind of feel bad. You know what I mean? They're the kinder, gentler time. You don't want to sit. We don't want to sit here and rip the 50s to shreds, but you got to do what you got to do.
I'm ready.
I don't have any that I hated. I really.
Case in point.
I really
No dishonorable mentions.
I have no dishonorable mentions. Nothing that nothing that I really hated.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you know what?
I mean, you guys will make up for
well,
my activeness here, but like listening to there were ones where I was like, oh, this is no good. But then I sat and listened to them, and I was like, do I really hate it? Am I going to turn it off? And a lot of it would just be I'd turn it down. There's nothing that...
There's no leap over the couch.
There's no leap over the couch. There's no hot dog water equivalent.
Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't... I don't know. I just couldn't.
Okay.
I'd be like, that's kind of lame, but I don't hate it. Yeah. So I don't have anything.
Well, you know, I'm kind of in the same... I actually have a list here, but I feel the same way. I was going through these, and I had a tough time. I dug, and I had a difficult time finding records for this, because I'm like, yeah, there are numerous albums from this period that I don't like, but I don't hate any of them.
Yeah.
Well. And what I ended up doing, because there wasn't really anything that stuck out as like, oh, that fucking album, oh my god. What I did is I just made a little list of the artists from the period that I just don't like, because I just can't really... So I'm not into Judy Garland. I don't like Doris Day, but they don't have like particular albums that just make me go, oh my god,
yeah.
You know, I just don't like them really.
Right.
I don't like Bing Crosby. I don't like anything by him. But again, there isn't like a particular Bing Crosby album that stands out as like the Bing Crosby album that pisses me off. You know what I mean? I just don't like Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
You know, and he was also a shitty person, and he was shitty, beat his kids and all that stuff, so fuck him. Johnny Ray.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like Johnny Ray. Not into it.
Can't point to any one album, though.
And I don't even know, does he even have any albums? Yeah. There you go. Well, he still gets a dishonorable mention. Slim Whitman. Do you know about Slim Whitman?
I mean,
you know about Slim Whitman. If you were watching TV in the late 70s, early 80s, you know all about Slim Whitman, because he was the king, the fucking king of TV released albums with like a commercial and an infomercial, and you know, he had a little pencil mustache and like, you know, the whole thing. But he
10-check or money order.
He's
available.
that guy. Like, he originally was from the 50s, but he made a comeback around 1980 with TV albums, and that shit sold like hot
crazy.
Like, he just did one album. They just put one out, and it sold so huge. He had a series of them.
Shit.
Pretty weird.
Slim Whitman. But of course, I do have one album that I really fucking hate, and it's really an artist that I hate, and you guys are going to be right on point. 1956, Pat Boone with the self-titled Pat Boone. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I was so tempted.
I was
tempted to go there.
I knew you know, we're back to the low-hanging fruit, but I mean, you know, come on.
Yeah. But I couldn't even, because it's so...
It's almost too obvious. It's too obvious. Yeah.
No, not even that. It's just like, it's just so benign, because it's not like, you know, it's just like, ugh. Yeah. But yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But
and you know, Doris Day and like, ooh, I don't like it, but it doesn't make me.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I don't like these artists, so that's kind of the best I could really do.
Yeah.
See, that's how Tommy feels about Doris Day.
I got caught yawning. Oh no. Oh well.
You must be getting hungry or something.
I am so hungry. Is it my turn?
It is your turn to hate the 50s.
So I didn't want to go for any low-hanging fruit. I wanted to get a little bit more creative. I don't have any runners-up or dishonorable mentions. But, you know, there's a part of me that feels like what I did select is the lowest hanging fruit, somehow.
It's lower than Pat Boone.
Because it's so bad.
Oh, shit, okay.
Now, I talked about this before, but what you didn't realize is there was an entire album released.
Oh, shit.
And that is from 1959, The Nutty Squirrels with The Nutty Squirrels.
No fucking way.
I am not
album of
fucking
that?
kidding. There's a whole record.
I didn't know this.
And it's more abominable than I could have even fucking imagined. I actually checked it out. It's horrible. It's fucking horrible.
I'm glad I missed
You
that.
thought, parts 1 and 2 was as low as you can get with the Nutty Squirrels. No, they did a whole fucking album. And that's why I feel like it's like, my God, like, of course, I mean, it's so obvious, so it feels like the lowest hanging fruit, but Christ.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, I'm lucky that I feel lucky to have missed this so far.
Yeah.
I feel happy that I managed to pull that one out for you.
Congratulations.
Nutty Squirrels.
Okay, all right.
Wow.
Well,
The Nutty Squirrels.
for those of you who are disappointed that there was a lack of, of cringing and venom in our hit list, as the years go on, there's going to be more.
Just fucking wait.
It's going to get bad. But anyway, let's have another commercial before we sign off here.
You know, if you were to follow a busy doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you'd find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to this repeated nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Why not change to Camels for the next 30 days and see what a difference it makes in your smoking enjoyment? See how Camels agree with your throat. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be.
Okay, so all right, well that is our 1950s lists, and it's the beginning, as I've said numerous times for episode after episode. Now it's the beginning of our Albums of the Year series. So stick around for this. Who knows where it's going to go?
Stay tuned.
But one thing that is definitely a carryover, like you guys may miss, you guys may get nostalgic for our Singles of the Year videos. Well, don't worry, because certain things are going to remain, like the fact that you should subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that
you should tell your friends.
You should tell your friends. And if you do subscribe, you might want to click the little bell there. You could comment, you could like,
Tell your friends.
Tell us all about your favorite 50s albums. Tell us all about the 50s albums that you hate.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the same.
The ones that send you right over to Dead Man's Curve.
That's the same. That's the same bell as the
reference,
singles.
sorry.
As the singles run. Yeah.
Yeah.
Budget
Yeah, well,
cuts. We
whatever.
couldn't get a new bell.
All right. Well, anyway, we will see you next week because, well, it's going to be 1960.
Yes, it is.
Phew.
The entire episode.
Not a minute too
all
soon.
1960. All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
It's nice starting this 50s episode really having our flow already together. Unlike when we did the singles.
This first episode is going to be way better than our 1954 singles episode.
Oh my god, that 54 episode's like, hi, we're three friends that want to discuss music songs for you.
We like
pay
music
attention.
a whole lot, and we
These are the songs that
these are
we
the
like
songs
the
that
most.
we like.
By us.
We hope you like them too.
Oh, is it my turn for my list now?
I think it is your turn.
Golly, okay.
We were so stiff. We just didn't have our groove.
And we were facing each other too, like a round table.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.